All right, from that, we want to talk about Nick Chubb because you saw something. You saw he's coming from week to week. 11 carries, 22 yards for 2 yards a carry in his debut. He did score the touchdown, but we didn't see anything that said, oh, yeah, that's Nick Chubb. Then last week, the numbers were better. 16 carries, 52 yards. Average was up to 3.2. Didn't find the end zone. But we saw some flashes in there. Is it possible that in just his third game back, we see the true and real number 24?
It's always possible. Like, the last thing you would ever want to do is bet against Nick Chubb. How many times has he proven that before? What was impressive to me, if you just look at the numbers last week, you're going to say, okay, well, he's not ready yet. He's not back yet. Will he ever get there? But if you watch the game, if you watch a couple of those runs that he had, there's nothing there. And he's got a 4-yard gain or a 6-yard gain. Those are Nick Chubb plays. We've talked about it before. The difference between Nick and everybody else on this roster is he turns a 2-yard gain into a 5-yard gain, a 4-yard gain into an 8-yard gain, a 6-yard gain into a 15, 20-yard gain. That's the beauty of his excellence. And you started to see that come back last week. Is it going to be this week? I tend to think maybe he needs one more before you see the big eye-popping numbers. Maybe that's after the bye week type situation at New Orleans. But what last week showed me was it's still in there, because the first game, you kind of throw it out, okay, that wasn't really a vintage Nick Chubb game. What he showed last week is Nick Chubb can still be Nick Chubb.
Yeah, listen, when you get past having an ACL injury, something goes off a little bit. You get to a point where you say, oh, I could make that move and I didn't hurt. Oh, I woke up today and my knee wasn't swollen. Mm-hmm. And usually you break out in your mind before you break out on the field. And so when you break out in your mind and you start visualizing yourself doing it and you start to see the increments, Nick Chubb is this close. There was a lot of yardage that he got that wasn't there, like Jason said. You start to see the burst a little bit more. And furthermore, I think he's going to break out is because now you're slowly starting to see up front the Cleveland Browns morph back into some of the things that they were doing well. You saw a lot of duo plays. You saw a lot more double teams, more zone plays up front, double teaming to the linebackers, and not runs out of shotgun. So I think that when you're going to see more of that, and with the play action game, you can't afford to sit back and not put guys in lighter boxes, because Jameis Winston is throwing for 300 yards. Now you get Nick Chubb with light boxes. I think you're going to start to see him put the yards on and look like the old Nick Chubb bull.
I agree. I don't think the big breakout game is going to happen yet this week, but he's clearly trending in the right direction. I think we're all on the same page here. I thought there were more carries this week where you saw the specialness, and sometimes you don't notice it as much when it's a 3-yard run, but we've seen Nick Chubb play enough to notice the difference there. And look at that run right there.
That's crazy. I just got caught up watching it.
I did too.
I'm like, that
this year, but
man.
But I think the breakout game comes against New Orleans. I think that's in 2 weeks. I think he has a fine game tomorrow. And I think the full breakout game comes in 2 weeks after the bye against the Saints.
Yeah, I tend to think that makes perfect sense. Give them another couple of weeks. I love what you said about breaking out in your mind before you break out on the grass. That, you know that, and I know that is 1,000% sure. I will promise you that Nick Chubb, even though he is a superhuman physical specimen, he's human. And when he stepped on the field 2 weeks ago against Cincinnati, and even last Sunday against Baltimore, there are doubts. There are always going to be little voices in your head that say, don't do this because it could lead to it happening again. When those doubts go away, I don't know. He's the only one that can tell you. But I do think from watching him that he had fewer doubts Sunday than he did against Cincinnati. And if you just follow that progression, I think he'll have even fewer doubts this Sunday against the Chargers. Then he's going to have a bye week. And his body's going to be healed from the 3 weeks of attrition from the games. And I do think that when he takes on the Saints, we're going to see maybe not exactly the old Nick Chubb, but we're going to see something that we all can agree. And when we look at it and say, 24's in there again, that's him.
Especially being on turf.
Yeah.
All right.